So initially I was thinking about just skipping this episode and going straight to the season 9 ranking, but then during the Among Us community clash thing, Liam asked me where this video was, so I guess I'm doing this one for him. I'm doing this one for the Time Hug guy. Alright, now to actually start reading from the script. Deku vs Asta is the penultimate episode of Death Battle Season 9. For my investment in the actual finale, I kinda wish this got to be what closed out the season instead, especially because I think it could have used the longer runtime, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Penultimate episodes of the show are a very mixed bag for me. On one hand, you have your Madara vs Aizen and Deadpool vs Mask tier bangers, as well as a few others that I really like. But then you have the other half of them, the ones that peak at being kind of decent, and at worst end up being some of the weakest showings in their season thanks to being really dull or frustratingly poorly written. Where does Deku vs Asta land in that? Well, starting with the analysis, I like Deku's well enough. I haven't kept up with Hiroaka since season 4, but I do like Deku as a character. He's not reinventing the wheel or anything, but he's a fun and charming lead, and I enjoyed hearing their coverage of his story, especially at the end with how smoothly they transition into talking about his emo phase and his rivalry with Bakugo, culminating in their teamwork giving Deku his greatest feat. Comedically though, it wasn't doing much for me. The cutaway was not as predictable in how not funny it was, which I guess I can appreciate that. Then for Asta's, I feel like I have to clarify before I say anything that I have not watched or read Black Clover, and given how the fanbase reacted to this episode, I am inclined to never want to check it out. I've heard some say the series was covered very well, some say it was covered very poorly, and I've heard both in about equal amounts. So anything I say is from the perspective of an outsider. With that in mind, I did quite like Asta's rundown. Jokes were kinda hit or miss. I liked the locker stuffing bit at first, but it did get old after a point. But the way they discussed Asta's powers and how his greatest weakness is what allowed him to be the only person to be able to use his grimoire, and his rivalry that's built on a mutual respect and a drive for both characters to continue to get better, damn, that actually sounds kind of interesting. It's not a favourite of mine, but it was a pretty fun analysis. There was also a cutaway gag. And now for the animation. And in case you skipped to this point like I imagine most of the Black Clover fanbase did in the actual episodes, I feel the need to stress again that everything on Asta's end that I'm going to talk about comes from someone who has no experience with his character. I've heard about an equal amount of people say he was done really well as people who say he was horribly flanderized. I can't tell how much of that comes from people who would have been happy to see him on regardless of his portrayal, or people who would go out of their way to look for things to be upset by. So again, this is all coming from the neutral view of an outsider. Starting off, we have an introduction from the tournament announcer voiced by Nick. That's a nice little callback to Hercule vs Dan. Oh, and SpongeBob vs Aquaman's on the monitor, that's cool. I like Midoriya's opening rambling to himself. That feels perfectly Deku, and I think he's voice acted pretty well. Asta, meanwhile, I'm a little more conflicted on, because on one hand, his line contrasted with Deku is really funny, and I like that Deku's strategic mind does come to that same conclusion in the end. On the other hand though, this feels kinda contradictory to the analysis. They say he's an intelligent fighter there, but here he comes across as more of a dumb jock, which is partly fitting with how headstrong he is. I don't know, all I can say for sure is that the internet's response to it was horribly overblown. The start of the fight does feel a little slow, and I think Asta's line about how fast Deku is comes in maybe a bit too early, but it's also a fun little nod to how Deku and Lux share a voice actor. What a charming and harmless little line, I hope other people liked it as well. Thankfully, the speed starts to pick up a little more. Asta lands some hits with two of his swords, and we have another fun little line about how his swords aren't sharp. Having them make slashing sounds instead of loud thumps did confuse me for a bit when the preview first dropped, but it's not too bothersome. I also quite like the exchange in powers afterwards, with Deku using a smoke screen to get his getaway, thinking of how he's going to disarm Asta, and then his spider sense warning him that Asta found him instantly thanks to his ability to sense ki. I do wish they got to play around a bit more with the smoke screen, but as it is, it's still a pretty good sequence. Asta then does the funny green hairman thing and gets two really solid lines. I wrote this over a month ago, I don't remember what this is referring to. His black meteorite scream has so much energy behind it. Michael Kovac generally knocks it out of the park with those, and I got a chuckle out of his next line where he realizes he can't cut the black whip. After that is one of my favourite bits of the fight before everything starts to go downhill. So I like Deku pulling Asta in with a black whip, forcing him to block with his swords, which Deku then connects another black whip to and disarms him. That's all solid. Then Asta pulls out his sword, continues to get ping-ponged by some incredibly limp Detroit smashes which feel more like regular punches than one of Deku's strongest moves. Then he steals Asta's book and Asta has done basically nothing for about the last 40 seconds. Personally, how I think the scene could have been improved would be to change how it was structured. Keep the start because that's good, then instead of Asta gets his best sword and does nothing as he gets slowly beaten around, have Deku hit him significantly faster and give him no opportunities to do anything. After which he goes for the grimoire, and Asta is just barely able to bring out the demon slasher before the book is out of his reach. I think that would have flowed a lot better and fixed the issue of Asta's controller getting disconnected for a bit. And, you know, for as weak and repetitive as the Detroit Smashes felt, I like that Asta is just as sick of it as I am. He even takes his book and swords back from Deku to drive home the point that you really can't have shit in Detroit. Deku chucks a building with what I think is meant to be a big blast of wind and not telekinesis, but it isn't conveyed very well. Then once Asta gets around it, he gives what is by far my favourite line read of the fight. It's the closest we get to an Asta Banshee scream in the animation, and Kovac sells it so damn well with so much vigour behind it. They have a pretty okay clash that then very jarringly cuts to what feels like a few seconds later, after they've both recovered from the recoil and started charging towards each other again. But I do like the effects and escalation of speed in their following rapid clashes. And now, the ending. I honestly think this is one of the weakest of the season in that regard. It at least starts incredibly well. I like the callback to the beginning of the animation, and Deku mirroring All Might's episode is genuinely perfect. All Might appearing behind him with the multicoloured lights that were present in the United States of Smash are such great visual details. The line deliveries are all good, the tension's being built very well. We're set for a really cool final showdown. Then Asta says nothing, gets a scream that has very clearly been made quieter in post. Then they both fall to the ground, except actually no they don't, Deku's already dead and Asta stabs his corpse. Alright, so putting aside how confusing it is to see them clash, then dive straight down, then cut to just Asta falling slower while Deku is still in midair, this to me comes across as a rushed conclusion to a fight that wasn't able to make full use of the most interesting part of Deku's power set, that being the risk and reward factor of One for All. Deku's fights are at his best when it's his sheer determination pushing through his shattered body, using every ounce of his remaining strength to keep fighting until he can no longer stand. But here he uses an unknown percent of his power for the bulk of the fight, then presumably uses Fajin to maintain 100% for about 5 seconds, then goes straight for 1,000,000% and dies after one clash. And I'm assuming this is meant to be some kind of fake out with Asta surviving the fall. I saw some members of the crew saying the intent was for Deku to have died here, so I'm not sure if it was the goal to psych people out, but Asta being shown to have survived and then revealing the swords doesn't really work. If you want to catch people off guard, instead of showing Asta standing up and then readying the swords, zoom out from this hand-drawn shot to reveal the swords first, then show Asta laying in the crater only being able to move his arm to bring the sword down. That or have him realise that Deku's dead, take the swords away and let him fall on his own. The Hercule cameo was amazing though. I hope he tries not to break too much of Asta's bones. The conclusion's straightforward as well, which I can appreciate, though it's funny to me how they show the difference of 6 times between their country level calcs. Then a corner box gives Asta scaling to a feat 150 times above Deku's Cloud Punch. Alright, so any more overarching stuff I haven't covered already before I close off? The track is really good. Strongest Alive remixes elements of Mighty, my favourite death battle track of all time, and Marvel for All, a Brandon Yates custom commission track which is good, but I also have no strong opinion on. I think it echoing the All Might track along with Deku's line at the end is very fitting for him, though I can't speak for how well the track fits Asta. The fight made good use of all of Deku's quirks, even Gear Shift somehow despite how recent it is, which is very impressive, but it doesn't feel like it uses his melee combat style very well at all. Detroit Smash is the only one of his big moves that he gets to use, and his shoot style feels like it's barely focused on. Speaking of barely focused on, this demon whose name I forgot how to pronounce is in this fight technically. I'm told he's meant to be to Asta what Senketsu is to Ryuko. They're supposed to be equals who aid each other in combat and communicate strategies. The impression that I got from this is that he can't talk and vanishes into the aether whenever Asta's fighting. But whatever, it could be worse. I mean, I didn't, and you know, this is purely hypothetically speaking of course, think that he was meant to be a spiritual creature that only Asta could see. But damn, I wish we could have seen the partnership worked into the fight to make up for how poorly utilised Senketsu was last season. At least Senketsu got to talk a little bit. The sprites look very nice at a standstill. I was not aware Deku had a yellow scarf now, but it looks nice. Asta's doesn't have any noticeable jank to it. Deku's on the other hand, there are a few shots of noticeably stiff movements that feel like a bit of a step back from the rest of the season. Not quite to season 7 levels, but the bits where Deku is sent flying and his back is perfectly straight or he's completely side on look very stiff. There are other shots as well that could have used a bit of tweaking to the posing, like have Deku bend his knees more for this jump, but they're fairly minor and don't detract very much. And that about does it, I think. I think this is the weakest sprite episode of the season. Hell, I'd go as far as to say the weakest sprite fight since Lex vs. Doom, but it wasn't bad, I still liked it. Which, yeah, it's kind of fitting that the episode I had the mildest excitement for ended up being the one I had the mildest liking for. It does have its issues, a lot of stuff feels underutilized or poorly conveyed, and the good stuff doesn't grab me nearly as much as any other episode this season, but at the end of the day, it's still an enjoyable fight scene coupled with a solid analysis. 6 out of 10, which I have to stress is a positive score to me. I like it, but I don't feel very strongly strongly about it, and it's probably the weakest penultimate episode of a season that I don't outright dislike. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm probably just going to skip the Gogeta vs Vegito review and go straight to the Season 9 ranking. Hopefully I can have that done in the next couple months. I hope you all enjoyed this very on-time review. Now enjoy the highlight reel where I become a prophet somehow.
Never ask a man his salary, a woman her age. Deku versus Asta haters where they were 1 year ago.
It's just rendering all that goodness.
It's like it's yeah.
It needs a few extra seconds in the oven. It needs a few extra seconds in the oven.
They were missing a little line from Bakugo saying "if she breathes."
We're just watching this tater tot video, I guess.
Okay, Tears and Tots works. Tears and Tots works.
Yeah. Can we just watch that instead? That's the highlight wheel.
What?
Deku versus
Tears and Tots, but no Deku versus Asta. Okay, this is a good omen that we watched this guy. I think it's there now. I think it's gonna work.
Yeah. What if it hits with an Uno reverse card and it doesn't work?
Hey, here we go.
It was. It was a profit.
The second I
opened
the instant.
Yeah, fuck you, Biff. Get back here.
There he is.
What a fucking lame cunt.
No.
What did he ever do to you?
Why?
Exist.
All he ever did was have a dream.
Yeah, it's a lame dream.
I could take that out of
It
context.
can move so many from the internet.
Oh, you could take that out of context. Saying a visual edit, you can have in this highlight reel.
Oh no. What a weak bitch.
So,
Leave Deku alone.
what the hell?
I'm gonna change the game.
Yeah.
They already saw him killing Asta.
Oh my gosh, he's dead.
He's already beating up Asta.
Oh wow, I looked to the left and it's all jump force.
Ah, a Family Guy.
Max.
Yeah. Love you, Family Guy.
Max.
What? It was freaky sweet.
Shut up.
This was better.
They're teasing us. They gave us a clip of Elmer Fudd and Thor versus Vegeta, I think, and then they give us this.
They're hinting at something. It's almost lunchtime.
Homer Peter is coming. Homer Peter's coming.
I meant Bugs Bunny versus Mickey Mouse, which you should vote for, but okay.
True.
Oh yeah, well.
True. By the way, this video is probably going to be coming out when the ballot's going on. Go vote for Mickey versus Bugs. Go do it.
What is this fucking propaganda you're putting in your reaction?
I'm not asking anymore.
Oh!
What?
I'm gonna assume that he just went on the planet. I'm gonna assume he just went on the planet. He could have either went on the moon, but
Yo, Hero Killer staying. Let's go. Isn't this like it came out in the last 3 weeks or something?
But he can warp reality.
It's been going on for like months.
Oh, they're giving him light speed. Oh no, they're giving him light speed.
You're gonna win, buddy.
You could even give Locke a run for his money.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun. I like that.
I like the way they ended that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Time for the actual analysis.
You were the only person saying that ever, Huntsman.
Oh, I'm saying catchphrase alright when Deku kicks his ass.
They haven't even brought up his moon level feat yet. What's going on with that? Like, where's all his feats and skills?
Why the fuck did not mention his best feats before they say his name? What the fuck? How am I supposed to know?
Just give that guy a brofist.
Deku should have came out of the start of the animation going, okay, this guy's moon level. I gotta really make sure to dodge his attacks.
But luckily I'm light speed, which is far faster than anything he has.
I don't think that's true.
Could even give Locke a run for his money.
Stop! I hate him now because he's like anti-magic. That's what Deku has. That's what Deku has.
It'd be very useful against the Batman.
I can't believe Asta would beat Batman. This fucking sucks.
Yeah, no other reason he'd beat Batman, just because he has anti-magic.
Well, I mean, give him the helmet. Give him the helmet.
Oh yeah, true.
Look at this crew. Look at this motley
I thought you were
crew.
gonna say, give him the Hellbat. He could even give Luck a run for his money.
Oh my god, it's so good. You give Locke a run for his money.
Like,
He got him with Darkseid, who traveled the universe. I'm pretty sure that could like maybe.
Take a fat out Luck.
Williams is
even know what
always
he
looking
looks
for a
like.
guy
He
who
could've
uses
shown up,
magic, but Deku's got no fucking magic.
He looks
He
like
could
a...
have shown up 20 times in this analysis already, and I wouldn't even
No,
know
I
who
think
was
he
walking.
looks like
Yeah.
lightning. He looks like a lightning dude.
His entire thing is covering himself in lightning and moving fast.
Well, Deku can also move as lightning, so like, I think he could give that guy a run for his money.
That was like episode 3 this season, no?
He literally had a sword called the Demon Slayer earlier, didn't he? William Afton?
Yo!
Oh.
Oh no.
Jesus Christ.
I want FNAF in Death Battle. When is it?
What is that have to do with
That's what the finale is. It's Spring Cat versus Junko.
anything?
Oh, half good, half good. Looks like William Afton had the spring locked down. The winner is.
Oh my god, shut up.
Awful. Oh no, it's broomsticks now.
It's my feet!
This is part of both of our arsenals now, is it? A non-factor in the fight.
They're fighting over who gets the feet.
Oh, they're gonna have this person show up, and then they're gonna have like a All My Hallucination show up.
These are my feet.
My arsenal
Broomstick
is
can't
mine.
slice buildings?
He's stronger than you, Wiz! This is a strength advantage!
I'm gonna be honest with you, if I
Oh,
thought
there we go.
Deku will run for his money.
Oh my god, routinely dodges Dean's Light.
This was like a longer analysis than Deku's.
I don't think so.
I
It
think
feels like it's gone by faster.
end now, I think.
They saved the cutaway for the end.
reality warping Deku is gonna take it.
Stop.
Sorry, Trey. He should have been in the reality warping around.
I didn't know. Maybe I just misheard it about fucking him having reality warping.
No, he could bend reality with his.
Yo.
What the fuck is that? How?
Alright, let's go.
He was that strong that he bent
He should have been in the reality warpers free for all.
Mess them up.
Get him, Deku! Get him, Deku! Get him, Deku!
Which character would have the
Do it for
funniest
Huntsman.
community response? Is that Nick? Is the
I
announcer?
think so.
They want what Hercule versus Dan has so bad. Oh yeah, also, if you look up at the monitor whenever it's next on screen, they're
Yeah.
playing SpongeBob versus Aquaman.
Yo!
Yeah. Oh, here they go.
Get him!
Mighty is so good. Why is Mighty too?
I like
Twitter,
I like the speed of I like the speed of
No.
Deku.
Twitter meltdown moment. And then
Why
Twitter
didn't-
meltdown
why
because of
didn't the
this
spikes
line.
in there? Come on now.
Yeah, why is Deku still alive? Come on.
Aren't they?
Can't just kill him
They
already.
didn't do their research.
Yeah, what's up with this? What's up with this scaling? What's up with this scaling?
Ah, here we go, here we go.
Jeez.
Come on. You should be
Stuff.
destroying countries already.
Zoro!
Yo, Zoro.
Look at this Zoro wannabe.
Bro's just getting ragdolled.
Is it the yo-yo?
Ew.
Rancid, positively grotesque.
Fuck off. I hate that.
That is very Deku-like to come up
Mario
with this weird-ass
Forza.
strategy.
Asta's done nothing
Yeah.
for like the last
Asta,
40
you gotta
seconds.
do something, buddy. That means he's gonna win, though.
You're out.
Oh, he called it back.
Oh,
Oh, that's cool.
Yo, Devil Union, let's
I
go.
don't remember this from the analysis at all. I was kind of zoned out. I'll
We
be
covered
honest,
it for
but
like 2
looks
seconds.
cool. It looks quite cool.
shit.
I like that.
That's cool.
Oh, okay.
Yo, that shot was awesome.
Go on, Asta. You got this.
Come on, Asta.
So this is as close to USA run as we get for the entire
And-
thing. Oh,
Oh, let's go. 100%.
Come on, buddy!
Oh, he's blowing up rocks.
He just quoted all
Yeah,
my.
you want my
hear
best?
that?
Here it is. Let's go.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
I know he's gonna lose. But come on, Deku.
Come on, Deku!
Come on, Asta.
He just plummeted.
Is Deku gonna die to the fucking fall?
Oh,
No, Deku!
oh, here we go.
Yeah, go get him.
Oh!
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go!
Detroit what? Asta. Detroit.
Oh! Yo! You said it at the beginning, Biff. Let's go. Oh, that's great. That's so good.
What Hercule versus Dan has so bad.
Yeah.
Hercule
Oh my
versus
God.
Asta.
That was so cool.
That was a cool fight.
I don't know
Yeah.
that, I think.
That was
Don't be
really
mean.
funny. Oh my
No, I'm
god.
just saying, maybe something will pop up on a rewatch that sinks it, but I don't know. I enjoyed my first viewing.
Listen, if Huntsman's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Very,
Yeah, Asta,
very happy.
I mean, okay, the one thing I wasn't super... Asta was just kind of getting ragdolled in the middle and did nothing for a whole minute.
Like, I liked the, oh, he's not using magic, but then Deku kind of just kept ping-ponging him.
Oh, I'm so glad Asta won. Jesus Christ. Twitter is...
Yeah.
People are still going to watch. They're going to put him at lower than moon level. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's lower than moon level. And oh yeah, no, the gap's not wide enough. People are gonna cry. People are going to cry.
They're going to
I said it before. I say it
I
again.
like that one of the advantages is literally just swords.
Let them cry. It changes nothing.
I don't know.
Swords over punches and kicks. They pulled a CFC.
Wait, but I thought Deku could like give Luck a run for his money. Where's the? I thought they were equal in speed.
Now see, base form speeds are somewhat comparable.
Yeah, but you see that joke doesn't make sense because Luck is like faster than Deku. Come on, Viv. Come on. Don't you get it?
Oh, finale! Oh my god!
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Right.
Please be good. Please just be
Let's
good.
do it. Let's do it.
Do not be cape shit or Dragon Ball, and I'm happy. No, those are my two conditions. No cape shit, no Dragon Ball, and I'm popping out.
Calm down,
Fun.
man.
Here we go.
Yeah!
He's in the finale.
Oh my
Alright.
god. I'm
Oh boy. Alright.
Alright.
Here we go.
Fall guy.
Fuck a fall guy.
Gru versus Megamind.
Oh my god.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be Groov's Mega Mind.
No.
Wait.
No.
What is it?
You're kidding. No.
Oh!
What?
Oh my god!
Why?
God.